It is time then for the Nations Cup Grand Final here in Tokyo. World Tour 5 of 2019. F1500 cars on the grid, and here's how they line up, Jimmy.
Yeah, Adriano Corazza there on pole with the Brazilian liveried F1500. Behind him, local man, Ryoto Kokuban. Big career, from the Japanese audience. Coco Lopez there in third. What can he do from the second row of the grid? In fourth there, Cody Nikola Lukovsky, always someone to watch out for. In fifth, Nico Rubelar, the Chilean driver, already a winner. Can he do it again here at Tokyo? There, Rayan Derouche, the Frenchman, very fast in semi-final, but down on the third row of the grid there. On the fourth row, Adam Wilk there, the Australian driver. Great to see him here at another event, and one of the first times in the final for him. Giorgio Mangano, the Italian there, in the red liveried. Reminds me of a certain manufacturer of that car in eighth. Miazano there in ninth place. He has it all to do there from nearly back of the grid. Baptiste Bourgeois, the Frenchman, is on 10th, and then rounding out the grid on the last row is Maraglino, the Italian, in 11th, and then behind him, Manny Rodriguez, the other Spaniard, in 12th. Standing start here.
Yeah, crucially, the first time we've seen a standing start in a Gran Turismo World Tour event in these F1500 machines. Soft tyres for the top three drivers, mediums for Lukovsky and Rubelar, softs for Derouche, and then harder mediums further down the order. How will the different strategies play out? You'd imagine that the soft tyres will be the best ones to start on. They'll get good grip away from the lights, and the lights go out, and we're underway here for the grand final of World Tour 5 in Tokyo. Who gets a good launch down to the first corner? Corazza got away well. Kokuban immediately on the defensive. Keep an eye out for Lopez trying around the outside through the Dunlop curve. All lots of big overtaking actions. They come down in towards turn one, but Corazza holds on. Second place is still going to be Kokuban. People going wide at that Dunlop corner there as well. Lukovsky makes ground. He gets ahead of Mangano as they all manage to make it through as they come sweeping down now. The under investigation there for the first corner incident. Maybe there was some contact.
Cleaner than I thought, to be honest. I think there was a bit of contact coming up to the S's for the first time, but we'll let the stewards look into that. Here's Coco Lopez, good start from him in third. Now they are vying for position back there. Miyazono already up to 7th position from 9th on the grid, making his intentions clear. Nice and early. He's on the medium compounder tyres, so I think what he's going to try and do is have a kind of medium to quick first stint, and then save the soft tyres maybe, depending on how he progresses through the field. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Corazza, Kokuban and Lopez all on the soft compounder tyre, looking to try and break away from the rest of the pack. Lukovsky has gone down to 5th position. Rubelar's moved up into 4th. They're on board now with Derouche. You can see there on the right-hand gauge, that's a turbo pressure. Nearly 4.5 bar of pressure. That's a lot of boost, I can tell you that right now. Using it right now to get by Cody Lukovsky, who seems a little bit slow off the corner there, maybe having a bit of trouble shifting that car up through the gears. Derouche looked across to see what's happening. Cody didn't quite know either, but look at the draft there, 360 kilometers now before breaking for the first chicane, and Derouche gets it very wrong, has to take to the gravel, and he'll go to the back of the grid. Big arms up in the air, that's frustration, and that promotes Miyazono up into 6th.
That could be curtains there for Derouche's race. Still a long time to go though, with 8 laps and of course tyre strategy to come. So it's all about the recovery now as the two Frenchmen on their home circuit here in Le Mans sit at the bottom of the field with Bourgeois and Derouche. Here is Nicolas Rubelar in 5th position, 4th place rather, being harried by Cody Nikola Lukovsky as they go through the Mulsanne corner then and up the straight heading towards Indianapolis. For the first time of asking, no further action at the first corner, deemed to be a racing incident, but Corazza now coming under pressure from Ryoto Kokuban, who's got the slipstream, got the closing speed, he's on the outside line, but look at the way he muscles his way through. That was absolutely brilliant there from Kokuban. It's like Corazza was standing still there.
Yeah, that was odd actually. He slowed down very dramatically, and Kokuban goes up into 1st position. Now coming down to Arnage, big heavy braking zone down here, and right now Kokuban, the Japanese driver, leading a big cheer from the crowd here.
The top 3 drivers are on the soft tyres, as you would begin to expect. Then it becomes the medium shod runners. The man who's lost out, of course, is Rayan Derouche. The fact he's on those soft compound tyres meant that he needed to push early doors and get himself with the top 3. However, that hasn't happened. It's going to compromise the rest of his race quite badly here as a result of that. So you'd expect the medium and the hard compound drivers to be pitting in as soon as they possibly can. The hard compound more so than the mediums, that is for sure. I think it's a minimum of 2 laps they have to drive at this Le Mans circuit, the Circuit de la Sarthe. Meanwhile, Ryoto Kokuban here, Jimmy, just putting out a bit more of a gap as Rubelar there has been hit with a penalty.
Yeah, that might be a course cut there. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Kokuban, though, showing his dominance in this F1500 car right now. The gap almost a second to Corazza, just over after taking him just before Indianapolis. And what can he do now? So these soft runners seem to be focusing on getting as far away from the rest of the pack as possible right now. Kokeban has the best way of doing that. No one in front of him, no dirty air at all, but of course, conversely, no slipstream. So he might end up being attacked down the straight coming into the first chicane. Meanwhile, even though despite the penalty, Ruble's doing very well to hang with these guys on the medium compounder tyre. Lukowski, though, starting to fall away a little bit, and Miyazano is starting to catch Lukowski. So let's watch him. Oh, there's been a mistake there, and looks like Karatsa's got by Kokeban. So just getting a little bit sideways there through the S's, and that allows Coco Lopez and Karatsa by. So just like that, Kokeban down to third.
So easy to do so in these cars as they drive wheel to wheel. I tell you what, things have gone bad to worse for Ryan Darouche as well. He's going to be hit with a penalty as he makes his ascension back through the field on the soft tyres. But here comes Coco Lopez trying to challenge for the lead, but he lifted off there on the Mulsanne straight, just trying to back out of it and not get himself too far alongside Karatsa. Maybe trying to set himself up a little bit better. But now look at these four drivers running nose to tail. Rubilar's going to drop back as he's been hit with that penalty there for exceeding track limits of half a second. Now it becomes a three-way scrap effectively on the second half of the Mulsanne straight. Mangano and Miyazono, there was an incident there. That's had no further action taking place against it, so they still sit in their positions as they are. But here comes Lopez. He's really beginning to close up onto the back of Adriano Karatsa, the Brazilian versus the Spanish driver, and it's looking pretty tasty between those two. Kokeban, though, he's there and thereabouts, and he'll want to get himself back out in front as soon as he can.
Got to be easy here, boys. Remember, you all need to be working together, use that soft compounder tyre and try and make that gap as big as possible. Nico Rubelar, despite the penalty, is coming back into play. 0.8 of a second now behind this little gaggle at the moment. And if he can get there, that would be very impressive because, importantly, he's on the medium compounder tyre and these guys are on the faster compound. Let's have a look at a replay here. Here's what happened to Kokeban.
Yeah, through into the right. Oh, look at that. He got a bit of opposite lock going off through there, sent it straight into the barrier on the outside. That allowed Karatsa to go through, and also Coco Lopez subsequently as well. So that is a big shame there for Ryota Kokeban. He was lucky he didn't end up spinning around and facing the wrong way, because that could have gone far worse for him.
Yeah, definitely not. And Lukowski, I think, is having a bit of an issue. He's not got the slipstream now. These guys are all towing each other down the straight and putting away. Lukowski behind, not doing that. So here is Coco Lopez right now, right in the wheel tracks of Adriano Karatsa, just ahead. I love these liveries in these cars, by the way. Very reminiscent of the old school cars that used to run back, of course, in the late 80s in a certain open wheel Formula Series. We come now down to the Porsche curve. This is where these cars absolutely thrive. Lots of downforce on these cars from the front rear wing and the general body designs. You can really throw the cars through, although if you're Coco Lopez, you'll be getting a big hit of dirty air from Karatsa. You can see straight away Karatsa just putting away as you come through there as Lopez tries to navigate the dirty air.
The two Italians are having a bit of a tete-a-tete out on the track by the looks of things. Brangano and Mariglino under investigation for an incident involving one another. That won't please either of them or our Italian commentators to the right of us as well. Here is Ryota Kokeban. We ride on board with the Japanese driver sitting pretty in third place as things stand, but he wants to get himself on that top step. We know that Miyazono also wants to get himself up there as well. Look at the way he just throws that car through the Ford chicane.
Trying to avoid that big sausage curve on the right there. Interestingly, Miyazono is going to come onto the hard tyre early, so I think what he's going to do is run 2 laps on the medium, 2 laps on the hard, then go to the soft on the end.
Well, that's what I'm expecting from the guys on the soft tyres at the moment. They're going to run 4 laps, the maximum they can possibly do in this race on those tyres. Then they'll change over to the mediums, then the hards, or the other way around, and run to the end of the race like that. That'll be quite interesting, because if it's quite as close as it is, it just depends on who's on the mediums, who's on the hards at the end of the race.
Yeah, we tend to see the soft tyre last the distance, so very good driver. But let's see what Miyazono can do. He has to do something special here. After qualifying in 9th position for the final. Of course, he was the #1 qualifier coming into this event. He had the fastest lap time round here in this car over a single lap, even over his countryman Kokeban, who we've just switched to now. But because of circumstance during the semi-finals, he's now found himself down in 8th place. On board now, Kokeban. Look at that speed rise, nearly 380 k's coming down to the first chicane, nearly 390 k's. Heavy on the brakes then, coming into the first Mulsanne chicane. Touching the curb on either side, easy on the power on the exit. These things have a lot of power, as you can imagine, those big fat rear tyres putting that power to the road. And Coco Lopez having a little bit of an issue on the left-hand side, kicking up the dust, but Ryota goes right back into the slipstream. Again, we've seen that a couple of times now, but the car's just struggled, it seems. Maybe they're shifting a bit too late. Possibly
so, yeah. They've only got 5 gears, these things. They are geared for straight line speed, and that just shows how effective the slipstream is. But Ryota Kokeban, the upshot is for him now into P2. I'm fairly sure they're going to try and do one more lap on this soft compound of tyres and go for as long a distance as they possibly can on them within the rules in this race. Baptiste Beauvoir, meanwhile, the Frenchman's race goes from bad to worse. P11, and a penalty he's picked up, presumably for exceeding track limits over the course of this race. You can see the graphic on the left-hand side of your screen. Miyazono, Wilf, Mariglino, Beauvoir and Rodriguez have all made their first pit stops in this race. So let's see what is going to take place. Bit wide there for Karatsa as he comes out of the Mulsanne corner as well, and that could potentially cost him just a little bit here. There, he's now a second adrift is Ryota Kokibun in second place, but we know how effective that slipstream can be as we ride on board here with Koke Lopez, the Spanish driver, as they head in towards Indianapolis then for the third time of asking. Through into the right hand they go, and then into the left, and Lopez looking pretty good here, looking very calm and comfortable as things stand, and that's exactly what he wants to do. You know, he needs to be calm, he needs to be careful in this stage. They all really stand a lot more to lose than they do to gain in these early stages.
Yep, definitely. And well, maybe what Lopez is trying to, maybe he wants to sit in the slipstream, maybe he wants to sit here and just watch the action unfold, but I don't know about that. I wouldn't be doing that in this case. So these guys, again, the soft runners, we expect them to come in at the end of next lap right now. And I'm noticing as well that the medium runners have sort of dropped off a little bit. I think what's happened there is Cody has got past Rubelar and maybe forced him into a mistake somewhere, because right now Cody and Rubelar are the only medium runners left on track. I'm kind of perplexed as to why they didn't pit in and go for that the 4-lap soft strategy that we've seen everyone else seems to be doing. Maybe they're not confident they can get that soft to the end.
Possibly so. I mean, tyre wear is not expected to be too much of a factor. Now Kokibun and Lopez go in, but Karatsa, crucially here, continues on for another lap. So Lopez and Kokibun think they've got to the end of the shelf life on their soft tyres. They both in turn go for the medium competitive tyres. Lakovsky comes in off of the medium tyres onto the hard tyres for his middle stint. It's all kicking off here as Rubelar, Darush and also Mangano in making different stops, soft, medium and hard for those three drivers there as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, and this is sort of the mid-race dip we expect with the strategy taking place, and it'll all kick off in theory towards the end.
It's kind of, oh hello, Kokibun looks like he's, no sorry, he was ahead, sorry, forgive me, I thought he jumped him in the pits there. But what I was going to say is that it seems that the toe is very important around this, so although Karatsa has stayed out on the soft compounder tyre, he's no longer going to have the toe of anyone around him. He didn't have it before, he was driving from the front of the field, but maybe these guys can work together and do something here whilst Karatsa is out on the lap on his own. It's a 20-second gap or so after the pit stop, so once Karatsa comes in again, that'll be rectified back down to a more reasonable gap. But yeah, I'm surprised we saw them coming on lap 3. Also, Miyazano in 5th position now, so he's been working his way up the field, has gone for the hard compounder tyre and then going for a fast finish, the same as Cody. So Cody and Miyazano hoping to have a fast finish here. Is that going to pay off on the circuit with so many straights? We'll have to see. They
could be ones to watch, definitely. You know, those soft competitive tyres. The difference in terms of lap times is quite significant, actually. We saw with the graphic of the start of this race. It's about 3 seconds between the slow tyre, the hard tyre, and the fast tyre, and about 1.7, 1.8 seconds between the medium and the soft. So it's definitely a big difference. Of course, it's a larger track, so of course that's magnified compared to what you would normally see. But it's going to be interesting. It's a case of if they've got enough time to try and, you know, make a move.
They've got to be clever. They've got to be clever here. Both of these guys here, the ones who are watching, need to be clever if they want to catch Karatsa. Here is the leader right now, getting that beautiful livery. I love the Brazilian livery in that car. It looks absolutely stunning in my opinion. Coming up now towards Indianapolis. We're on board now, getting a great driver's eye view of what Karatsa is seeing right now. And again, the speedo on the right, even without a toe, this thing is just pushing through the air, undoubtedly running quite a low downforce setting. Let's see if he's flat through the first part of Indianapolis. Watch that right foot there. No, a bit of a lift in the way, and I think he would have taken too much speed if he was flat through the first part. You can get away with it in an LMP1 car, not so much in one of these Formula-based cars. Then back on the brakes heavily for Arnage. Easy on the power out. It's the easiest place to spin the car, and then get ready for, in my opinion, some of the best corners on the planet, the Porsche curves. In a car like this, absolute dream. I love to be driving right now.
Manuel Rodriguez and Salvatore Mariglino having a bit of a ding-dong battle for P9. Mariglino just briefly ahead of the Spaniard for a time being, but Rodriguez having been hit with a penalty, presumably for track limits, as we've seen a few times so far in this race, means that he will have to serve that and should, in theory, drop back. Now, Wilk and Mariglino instant there under investigation separately as well. Wilk is now down into P12, so just worth bearing that in mind. Maybe there was a contact between those two on track.
So interesting, I've been watching the gap between Kokibun and Karatsa, who now comes into the pit lane. Kokibun has been gaining. So maybe that soft compounder tyre had given up. So this is going to be interesting. Let's see if Karatsa is going to come out ahead of Kokibun. Now, it's been a good lap for the Japanese driver. Karatsa comes onto the medium compounder tyre, so it'll be the same compounder tyre, albeit a lap less wear on it. Kokibun comes through the last chicane, the fourth chicane. It's a long stop here, so we'll keep an eye on it. Here we go then, Kokibun over the start-finish line, inheriting the lead for now. Where is Karatsa? Look to the left-hand side of your screen. Where when he comes out, Karatsa does come on the pit lane, and my word, the gap has actually increased. The gap is now up to nearly 2 seconds, although saying that, Kokibun manages to get a bit of that with just to run the speed coming through there. So the gap at 1.5 seconds right now, and Karatsa has fresher tyres.
Well, that is good news there for Adriano Karatsa. Of course, all these drivers now on the medium compound of tyres. As you say, into the pit lane comes Takuma Miyazono from P11, it said there on your screen, so that's because the prevailing field have in theory gone past him. Onto the soft compound of tyres for the closing stages there of this race, taking some fuel on board in these last few laps as well. Adam Wilk also onto the soft compound here as well. Now, Takuma Miyazono, of course, he's got drivers in front of him. However, they have all got another pit stop to make, so it's down to Miyazono to have the laps of his life here to get himself in the closing stages in a very competitive position.
That's what it's got to be now. Miyazono, get your head down, mate. If you want to win this, these next 4 laps have to be the best you've done all weekend. He's got Maraglino in front of him on the track and Rodriguez, who will catch fairly quickly on that soft compound of tyre. How quick he gets by those guys will dictate his result for the end of the race. Now, these 3 at the front, they're going to be aware of Miyazono. They're going to know that he'll be coming through the pack towards the end of the race, so they need to keep it as clean as possible and try and work together around here. When I say work together, I mean don't be lunging each other into every corner. Use the toe of each other. If someone is coming by on a straight, let them by. Don't fight them, and just try and use each other's toe to catch up to Karatsa in front and just have a faster lap overall. This is going to be a great finish, and as always, just ramping up to the last few laps here at the World Tour 5 event in Tokyo.
I'm so interested to see what it's going to be like between Koke Lopez and Cody Lukovsky as well, because he's, of course, as is Miyazono, going to be on that soft compound of tyre. Out of position now is Miyazono, of course, as we said. Lukovsky having gone on for another lap longer than the man who was chasing him in this race. Now, a penalty there for Koke Lopez, half a second. That's for track limits, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that is going to compromise him here.
Easy to do that around here. That'll be a couple of Spanish swear words, I think, inside the head of his right there. Very easy to do that. The track limits are very strict around Le Mans. They have to be, otherwise you can gain a lot of time. And although he is in the slipstream of Kokibun right now as they backfire the cars as they go by, I love that noise so much. Yeah, he's going to lose out coming out of Arnage here. Arnage in the big acceleration zone, so slowing out of any acceleration zone is pretty much the worst thing you can do to a driver. And then you see we've seen drop off now, crosses the line, and then bam, 0.5 per second, and that gap on the left-hand side of your screen goes up dramatically.
Ryoshi Kokibun there in second place. It's been pretty quiet for him in these mid-stages of the race. This is what we're used to seeing with the races with strategy. It should all, in theory, liven up a bit towards the end, depending on these strategies. But Adriano Karatsa there has done a really good job with those fresher medium compound of tyres. He's really got them switched on. The gap now sits at just under 2 seconds between himself and Ryoshi Kokibun. A penalty there for Manuel Rodriguez and also Adam Wilk, as we can see on screen at the moment. So just worth bearing that in mind. We didn't see what happened between Wilk and Maraglino as it was earlier on, but clearly the stewards decided not to investigate that incident any further between those 2 drivers. But look at the way Karatsa launches that car over the curb. I mean, that ultimately is what caused the drivers to do so well in the top 6 qualifying session.
Definitely. So here we go. Cody Lukovsky comes onto the soft tyre for the last part of the race. Now the pieces are starting to fall into place here at Le Mans. Where will Cody come out? That's very important for this race and for his race as well. Opting not to put much fuel in the car either on the way out. Just minimum fuel possible to get to the end. Any time spent fueling is time lost, and you're carrying that time all the way around with the additional weight of the fuel. We're on board now with Ryoshi Kokibun. The gap has kind of stayed around 1.6, 1.7 seconds all the way through this second stint, although Karatsa has a better run out of Touch Rouge and starts to increase that gap. Importantly for Kokibun, he's out the draft.
That is it, yeah, for Ryoshi Kokibun. So that is really going to compromise him here. Nicolas Rubelar has been hit with a penalty as well. I am guessing that is for track limits because we haven't seen an incident under investigation for the Chilean driver, and that could be a shame there for him. He's 8.1 seconds off the back of this trio of drivers who are leading the way at the moment, but it's still going to help him close up that gap. He's on the soft compound of tyres here as Rubelar at the moment, and of course he's got a hell of a job actually to close that gap down. He's got to make one more pit stop here, and he's going to be on the slower compounds of tyres towards the end of this one. You can see all the drivers who have still got to make pit stops all inside the top 5 positions now. Everybody else has pitted and are on their final way in this race for the last 2-3 laps here. 2.5 laps is probably the better way of putting it at Le Mans.
Karatsa currently leading the way. He has to really maximise this in-lap now. Meanwhile, we'll go back down through the field. This is Darush and Rubelar having a bit of a fight. Now, Darush on the medium compounder tyre, Rubelar on the soft. So he has a bit of a speed advantage there over Darush in the corners. But of course, coming down the slipstream, not quite as much. Here we are looking back from Ray and Darush there. You can see the Chilean driver just behind. Now watch what the toe does. That car behind is going to get bigger and bigger on your screen as the speed rises, coming down now to the Mulsanne corner. Look how much more speed Nico Rubelar has, but he says, you know what, I'm not going to make the move here. I'm going to try and get close as I can, use the draft coming up in Indianapolis and make it an easy path instead of a difficult one.
I love the way you just choose gun whilst he's racing as well. He looks so chilled, doesn't he, Rubelar? There's Randarouche looking a little bit more animated by consequence as well. As you can see, he's now having to try and defend. Rubelar now pulling side by side as they come down in towards Indianapolis. Then Rubelar is through with the slipstream through the right-hander we go. Darush down into P5. Rubelar, the Chilean, up into 4th.
Actually, a bit of communication there between the two drivers. Are sat next to each other. I think he's saying, right, come through, come on. I don't want to fight this. Let's get on with it. Let's try and not lose time with each other. Again, like I said before, trying to work together to get back onto the pack at the front there. Different
tyre compounds for both of these drivers crucially here as well. Rubelar on the softs, Randarouche on the medium, so there's not much point really for Darush to get involved in the battle, especially Rubelar for that, because they're both on very different strategies here in this race. Now, what about Adriano Karatsa? He's going to have to come in very soon indeed. Will he do it on this lap? Will he do it on the next lap? He's going to do a minimum of 2 laps. He'll have to come in now, won't he, Adriano Karatsa? So the Brazilian driver preparing for his final assault here in this race. Now, Ryota Kokeban's got a half-second penalty there, so he's done track limits as well. It's caught out of quite a few drivers, including this man here, Koke Lopez. So the top 3 into the pit lane now, and Randarouche is about to follow suit very shortly indeed in 4th position. So let's see how it all plays out for these drivers as they take on the hard tyres, the slowest compound of tyres, for the final stages then of this race. Now look at the fuel consumption here. Adriano Karatsa is going to have to take on a fair bit of it because he's got only 18 litres left. Koke Lopez, meanwhile, has done a good job of saving it. He's got 30 litres left.
Not too much fuel to take on, hopefully we'll see. Now, what was Lopez pit stop? There you go. So Kokeban there. Again, as you said, Tom, a longer stop for Karatsa on fuel. He wasn't in the draft at all there, so he had to use more fuel. And Kokeban goes up into the provisional lead of this race. He does have that penalty, though. Rubelar in, as is Darush, both for the hard compound tyre. Where is Cody? Cody is 3 seconds behind Koke Lopez on a tyre about 3 seconds a lap quicker. And again, another penalty for Kokeban there, just abusing the track limits and getting paid for it as well. So a disaster for the Japanese driver. He's going to have a big hit coming on to the penalty zone, just coming out of Arnage, but Karatsa is about a second behind. Lopez 2.5 behind him, and Cody is gaining all the time in 4th position.
Darush and Rubelar seem to have had a bit of a tete-a-tete as well. You can see they're absolutely right for Lukovsky and Miyazono, Jimmy, because Miyazono is hopefully going to try and close that gap down to Lukovsky and bring it through. The advantage for the Australian here is, of course, his tyres are a couple of laps fresher, or 1 lap fresher at least. There is Kokeban about to serve his penalty, then 1.5 seconds. That's a week in this type of racing, and he's going to have a very hard task to try and close that gap down.
Oh my word,
that was close for comfort, wasn't it?
That's a speed differential there of the penalty. Oh, I don't. Yeah,
made you wince, didn't it?
It did a little bit, yeah. But Karatsa's now back up. 2 seconds is the gap. The thing is, Cody is gaining all the time, as is Miyazono. Now the top 3 drivers, all in the hard compounder tyre, have to try and keep as far ahead as possible. The slipstream is the key around here. I cannot stress that enough. Once you're within about a second of the car in front, it's a bit like having DRS. The slipstream is so extreme in this regard. And you'll see Koke Lopez now. He's within a second just about of Ryota Kokeban. He's going to go drive up to the back of the car. Look, there is Cody. There is Cody in the background there, and behind him, there is Miyazono. They are charging through on this soft compounder tyre. And as is always with these final events here in the Nations Cup, things are going to go down right to the wire.
It is all to play for in the Nations Cup for World Tour 5 in the grand final. Here is Koke Lopez, the last of the 3 drivers in the top 3 positions on the hard compound of tyres. Now, are they going to feel Cody Lukovsky breathing down their neck before too long? I think they are, because he's now fewer than 2 seconds behind, and these guys have to work together. If they get involved in squabbles, that is it for them, and Lukovsky will be closer to them than ever before. They've got half a lap to go before they come on to the final lap here at Le Mans, and it is getting very exciting indeed, with Cody Lukovsky looking and seeking to try and take his first ever World Tour win here, Jimmy, and he's in a very good position to try and do so.
Looking very good for him right now, but he has to really take his time and be patient. Make the smart moves, Cody. Did what you said you were going to do. Don't rush this. You have the car car underneath you. It'll be knife and gavel coming to the Porsche curve. Cody comes, tries to go up the inside there, but Coque Lopez comes across the defender. Now he's stuck on the inside. That puts Cody in. Cody goes round the outside of the Porsche curve, and there's contact between the two. And again, there's contact between him and Coque Lopez, and my word, that's what I meant. Look, Miyazono's in the background now. He's onto the back of the soft compounder tyre, so just like that, Miyazono is back into the frame, but now there's 4 seconds between these guys and the front pack. Miyazono's going to go around the outside, 3 wide, coming into the Porsche gate. Miyazono up into first place, and now he will try and chase down the leaders.
The crowd goes absolutely wild here in Tokyo. Miyazono with an inspired move. He is going to be pushing like his life depends on it on the final lap here of the grand final. There is your race leader, Adriano Carrazza. Ryota Kokubun, Miyazono's countryman, is in second place at the moment. They're both on the hard compound of tyres. There is a gap for Miyazono and Latkovsky to make up 4.1 seconds. It sits to Kokubun in second position, but they've got a good amount of time to try and close that gap down here, Jimmy. It is all to play for, and it is getting so exciting. And
Carrazza, 0.5 seconds, that's going to change everything. He'll be serving out when he comes out of the first chicane, and that means beautiful Kokubun, and apparently for Latkovsky as well. Oh my word, it's getting sloppy now at the moment. Miyazono side by side with Latkovsky. They don't need to be doing this. Cody swipes to the inside, takes the defensive line. Miyazono goes from the outside, uses the slipstream. All they're doing is slowing each other up right now. This could be Kokubun's race. Latkovsky keeps the inside, but now the penalty is being served at the second chicane. Guys, give us the front. There you go. So Carrazza very slow. Here comes Kokubun. He's got the run. 7/10 of a second, half a second now. Coming down to the second chicane. Kokubun is to look to the inside, I think. Carrazza goes defensive, he swipes the outside, and Kokubun goes up to the roar from the Japanese crowd here.
Ryota Kokubun leads in Tokyo on the final race of the grand final here in the Nations Cup. The Japanese driver is on top, but keep an eye out for the man who's close behind as well of Takuma Miyazono. He's ready to close up in these closing stages. Here is Carrazza though, he's going to try and fight back against Kokubun. Down they go, the Mulsanne straight into the Mulsanne corner, and Carrazza is back in front here.
These guys fighting, they need to fight for Cody to get close. Miyazono and Cody still fighting there back for third and fourth, but now importantly, it's a high-speed game of chess this. Kokubun's in the right place for the slipstream coming into Indianapolis. It's hard to pass coming out of Arnage, so again, we're going to see the draft come into play. The speed increases. Here we go then, coming up to Indianapolis. Carrazza sits middle of the road. Kokubun goes to the outside. Goes to the slipstream. Round there, to the dirt. You see dust kicked up on the left-hand side of your screen. Now for Indianapolis. And Carrazza looks at his right on the back of the Japanese driver. Into Indy. Almost touches Kokubun as we come into Arnage for the last time. Carrazza sideways.
This is absolutely mega. And Ryota Kokubun, what a move around the outside there. He defends it. Carrazza's off. Carrazza's off at Arnage. And Ryota Kokubun leads the way on the final lap. That is mega, and potentially Latkovsky ready to pounce here for the second position as well.
So here we are then coming into the Porsche curves for the last time of asking. Cody Latkovsky just behind Carrazza. Can he come in? Can he gain? My voice isn't going to last this time, I don't think, mate. I'm going to give it to you.
Thanks there, Jimmy. My goodness me, I've never heard anything like that. Dogs could only hear that one. Here is Takuma Miyazono in fourth place. Just in front is Cody Latkovsky, but only a few corners from home now for the first ever Japanese winner in the World Tour event here in Tokyo. Takuma Miyazono there in fourth place, but stand up on your feet and applaud this man here, Ryota Kokubun. Oh, Carrazza, what a move! I don't believe it! Kokubun gets it back over the line, and Kokubun wins here in Tokyo. Ryota Kokubun is the first ever Japanese winner of the FIA Gran Turismo Championships World Tour event here in Tokyo. What a final lap! That was amazing!